Hello, I'm Will Yeoman and welcome to another episode of the pod Well Travelled, where I'm joined today by travel editor Stephen Scourfield and travel journalist and aviation editor Jeffrey Thomas. Gentlemen, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. Thank you. You sound very serious this morning, Will.
Oh. No.
There's a frightening tone in your voice.
We won't get into UK politics, but as you are too, I've just been totally immersed in that, so completely different subject.
I'm very hopeful now.
I was until I saw the cabinet, but let's not get into it. Okay. Let's talk about this a bit later. Okay, look, for now, Stephen, we'll kick off with you because the India Travel Club tour, there's some really exciting news there.
Yes, look, we've put together a travel club tour to India in partnership with Imagine Holidays, which has really sort of made the, in a sense it's bespoke. I mean, it is the Golden Triangle. So Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, those are the places that most people going to India will want to see first. In Delhi, not just the kind of big stuff. Of course, there's Raj Ghats, which is where Gandhi was cremated. That's sort of his site, I suppose. Humayun's tomb, the Qutb Minar, which I wrote about recently, actually. It's amazing stone brick Minar. But we'll go to the National Museum. So that sort of sets the scene. In Agra, obviously, the Taj Mahal, Agra Fort, Fatehpur Sikri, which is a place of particular interest to me, where the philosophers, all these world religions came together to try and decide a world religion. On to Jaipur, the Amber Fort, City Palace, Jantar Mantar, which is an observatory, astrological observatory, which predates, most of our mathematics on these things. But then the kind of twist, I suppose, is finishing in Udaipur, which is that beautiful city, white buildings, white palaces on the blue lakes, and it's just the most super place. And I think the trips in between I really like. So being on the road in India can be demanding, but on these we make the road days into something pretty special, I think. So the story is told actually kind of, in a very decided or scripted way on the days in between. Okay. So I do that on those days, and then we finish at Fatehgarh in this beautiful modern palace up on the hill overlooking Udaipur, which is like my favourite hotel anywhere, I think. I just love it there. So yeah, very excited about that. So it's November next year, 2023. And I guess, India, it's so often it's mentioned to us as, it's a place, I've always wanted to go there, but I'm kind of not sure. So, for example, with this, we include all the meals, every meal in this trip, so that people can eat with confidence and enjoy the food without wandering off and thinking, should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
This safe? Is this not? So those aspects are really important to me as well. So that's kind of the gig. I mean, I suppose I should tell you the price is $8,899 per person, twin share, or $11,999 solo, but that includes, as I say, absolutely everything.
Yeah, no, that's
all
really
international
impressive.
airfares. There's an internal flight back to Delhi. All the travel, fantastic accommodations.
Look,
safe and solid.
You've probably answered this question already, but I guess you've clearly outlined why people should go with someone like yourself and with Travel Club, because given that itinerary, it's not something you could probably do with confidence if you're a first time or even if you'd been before.
I think people do. I think lots of people who talk to me about it are sort of nervous. And also if something goes wrong, if you do get unwell or if you find it all a bit confusing, which it can be. I mean, that's what I kind of like most about it is this sort of element of chaos, I suppose, to our Western minds, But I mean, it's the place I'm most comfortable, really. So if there's any sort of problem, we can sort it out. And I've got such friends and contacts there that no one gets left behind. No one gets if anyone's not feeling great or feeling confused or it can jangle you up a bit as well, I mean, but you've got someone there, people there who can help you through anything, so you can just enjoy it.
Yeah, which
and I do
makes a
think
huge
there are
difference.
quite a lot of destinations where that really helps. What I actually prefer also, generally with touring, is quite interesting because I'm sure that lots of people listening to this think that, and I used to think that small groups were the way to go, that, you're looking for small groups of 12 or 14 or 16. And in some circumstances, that is completely true. But my feeling with trips like this is that if you've got about 30 people, you kind of got a big family, a big mob of you, and it suits India to have lots of people around, and you can mix and match, and we have a big coach, so there's tons of room anyway, and you can all spread out, and it's just fun, that if you're in a group, in this circumstance, if you're in a group of 12 or 14, and you're always with that group, but with this, so you can move around within the bigger group, and I think that works well. And also I can split the group up, so if people want to go shopping or don't want to go shopping, we can actually get guys to do this or do that, and I kind of every day is a bit different. Every day is a bit different to the itinerary, actually.
No, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think you've got two different types of travellers, haven't you? You've got those who really enjoy the planning and the research, and those that don't.
Yes.
And just want to go and have that all looked after for them.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think that for me with India in particular, there's so much opportunity to read around it. So knowing that we've looked after the infrastructure with Imagine, and they've put this together specifically for us in partnership with us. So that's all done. You'll be going to the places that you kind of really need or want to go to. I'll look after all the other stuff that goes on, and we'll do a little private concert with Indian classical music and a little voice piece and, all those things. I'll do all that. So, the opportunity, I think, for the traveller then is to read around it, to be reading about that period of independence and to be reading about the complexities of the Muslim Hindu history, particularly through this northern band. There's so much that you can dig into without actually worrying about logistics. But I understand what you're saying, and I think that's true. Lots of people like the planning, but you can actually plan in a spiritual and emotional way, I think, for this journey without worrying about where you can have lunch.
I know. Nice. Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like a long way off, but these things come around very, very quickly.
It feels like a long way off, but, I think that's part of the opportunity, isn't it? It's part of, knowing that you've got this moment, albeit the end of next year.
Yes.
That gives you something to think about and aim towards and read towards, and you start listening to Ravi Shankar's music, and you start understanding his philosophy, and you bump into this and that, and it just opens up that whole lead into this beautiful moment.
Start diving into the Bhagavad Gita again as well. All those wonderful scriptures.
Of course, that's right. Take up yoga.
Indeed. Don't already. Indeed. Especially, I was going to make a joke about economy classes. Yoga's
follow Indian politics.
Yes, well, there's a lot to unravel there. So you've got about a year.
Just separately, while we're sort of chatting about it, I was just writing another piece which we're doing soon on souvenirs and keepsakes.
Yes.
And you've done a beautiful one. One of mine was this jacket, Indian style jacket, sleeveless, nice tight fitting. And I saw one in a window, and I've always loved these. I've got a few, and I went into the shop and said, I'd really like to try on the Nehru jacket. And of course, Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Indian Prime Minister after independence and is revered. But of course, these are more commonly known as Modi jackets now for Narendra Modi, who wears one. I'm sure we're all familiar with that look. And when I asked for the Nehru jacket, the man in the shop said, 25% off. And I said, why? Because I was going to buy it anyway. And he said, because you called it a Nehru jacket and not a Modi jacket. So there's plenty of politics in India. Some people are not so fond of their leadership either.
I was going to make a joke about Modi and a la mode, but that's probably too obscure. Jeffrey, you a fan of India?
I've only ever been there once.
Yes, and enjoyable?
Well, no, I was in transit. I was in transit in Bombay, and it was challenging.
Right.
It was a long time ago, but I would love to go. And when I do go, I think I'll go on one of Stephen's tours.
I was about to say, why not?
I'm going to pay the money and join, and because I'm like so many people, have a few concerns. It's a mysterious place. It's a fascinating place, and I really do think you need somebody to hold your hand. But one of the films that really has inspired me, and I was going to mention the film anyway, about India, is The Man Who Knew Infinity, starring Dev Patel. Yeah. And, you talk about emotional, you talk about spiritual, tear-jerking film, and an extraordinary true story. I watch that film quite often. I just love it.
It is a fantastic
It's an amazing film. And Dev Patel, of course, is an incredible actor. But India is absolutely on the bucket list. And look forward to it. And hopefully Stephen will pick me for his A team next time.
Jeffrey, you have to stick Monsoon Wedding on your viewing list as well.
Monsoon Wedding. That sounds fascinating.
I've got a confession to make. I'm rather partial to Bollywood films. I just find them irresistible.
There's nothing about you that surprises me anymore. I can just see you ending up dancing on the beach.
Indeed. Yeah. Jeffrey, okay,
Airbus.
Back to something serious. Airbus, significant birthday.
Yes, it was 50 years ago this Friday, the 28th of October, that the first A300, that's their first aeroplane, took to the sky. And people sort of know Airbus, they just know it as Airbus. But in actual fact, Airbus is an amalgamation of every major European aerospace company, Hawker Siddeley, Vickers, Messerschmitt, Aerospatel, Focke-Wulf, all those great German names, French companies, British companies, and other companies around Europe came together one way or another to form Airbus. So where you had all these small companies producing small production runs of aeroplanes, not very efficiently and not very successfully. There were some exceptions, like the Vickers Viscount that served in Australia through the 50s and 60s. Largely they were unsuccessful. Airbus has been the complete opposite. And it's been, they've taken on the Americans and they've beaten them. Basically through innovation. So some amazing concepts. The first glass cockpit, what we call the glass cockpit, which replaces all the analog dials, that came out with the A320, which is in the mid-80s, and that plane is used now by Jetstar and Qantas and Vara here in WA. And since that first flight 50 years ago, they've received orders for over 20,000 aeroplanes. They've produced approximately 13,000 of them, and they've got a backlog of 7,500, which is double what Boeing's backlog is. So they are really dominating aviation today.
It's a big achievement.
It's a massive achievement, and well done to them. Well done to them. And parts of Airbus aeroplanes are built all around Europe. The wings, for instance, are built in the United Kingdom. All the wings for every Airbus aeroplane are built in the United Kingdom. The fuselages in France and Germany. And all these parts are flown between different sites to the final production site. It's an amazing achievement, and we kind of touch on it. And they're leading the way into the green revolution with hydrogen-powered aeroplanes. They hope to have in service by the middle of the next decade. So they are really using innovation as a tool, and it's winning hearts and minds everywhere.
Well, and it's good. It is quite. I should have mentioned it is quite a substantial piece we're running in the Saturday's West travel section as well.
And one of the litmus tests for Airbus was Qantas. They just couldn't get into Qantas. Now you've got a situation where early in the next decade, Qantas's fleet and Jetstar's fleet will be totally dominated by Airbus aeroplanes. In fact, it'll be 90% of their fleet will be Airbus aircraft. So it's a sign of the times.
Airbus.
Yeah,
Stephen.
well, of course. I mean, the name that people will know is the A380, of course, isn't it?
That's right.
That's the Airbus that that we all kind of has changed the scene for contemporary. Is that, I'm not really stretching a point, am I? I think it set a new benchmark for contemporary travelling.
It has, but in a twist, and it's an interesting twist. That's the one aeroplane that has not been the success they'd hoped for.
Yeah.
And there's a number of reasons for that, which are really quite complex. But from a passenger point of view, it's a sensational success. With Emirates or Qantas or Singapore Airlines, and interestingly enough, yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the first Singapore Airlines A380 flight from Singapore to Sydney, which I was on, and they've been a great supporter of Airbus with the A380, and now they've got the A350, and the A350 is a real winner for them. Twin-engine aeroplane and composite fuselage, and comes into Perth with Singapore, Cathay, Qatar, and soon, a year or two away, Qantas will have them as well.
The economies of those planes are very interesting. Like the A380, its efficiencies are very interesting.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. But, the A350 puts those efficiencies in the shade. Because the A350 burns about 40% less fuel per passenger than the A380. So, moving because the A380 was designed in the late 90s and it has engine technology from the late 90s. And yes, a big step up from the 747, absolutely in efficiency. But then, since then, we've had 2 generations of engine technology that have brought that fuel burn, as we call it, fuel usage per passenger, way down. And there's been some amazing breakthroughs in engine technology.
They're huge percentages, that 40% in
which is fantastic for the environment and carbon emissions. And there's some really exciting stuff coming up from Airbus as well.
Excellent.
Lots to look forward to. So again, you can read all about India from you, Stephen, in this weekend's paper. You can also read all about the Airbus in this weekend's paper from Jeffrey, and you can also read from me.
Yeah, you're taking us to Japan.
Just a couple of new travel guides that have come out, and I really love these 2. There's Neon Lights in Tokyo, which is an insider's guide to the best places to eat, drink, and explore by Ben Groundwater. And there's also Japan, a curated guide to the best sites, food, culture, and art by Steve White and Michelle McIntosh. They're all they're all Aussies. They're all from the eastern states. So that's quite nice to get that perspective. And look, and to be honest with you, I guess I don't want it to sound uncharitable, but they're sort of hipster guides. It's that kind of vibe that you get from these books. The sort of the insiders, the sort of retro stuff that people love about Japan. They took on the American culture quite early and made it their own, as we all know,
with baseball and things like that.
Exactly, but also vinyls and coffee houses and it's just amazing.
It looks like Lost in Translation, that Neon Lights in Tokyo.
The cover here, it's a classic shot, isn't it? I really love delving into these guides, and I've spent a bit of time writing about them this weekend. But I think it's good timing, isn't it, Stephen? Because Japan's, again, becoming more and more accessible as restrictions drop.
Yeah, the interest in Japan is just, blockbuster. As you say, the country's open again. They're being cautious, I think, on the ground there. We're hearing a lot about mask wearing and being encouraged inside and so on. And they have staff shortages in a lot of places. As I don't know where everyone is. Every industry has staff shortages.
Absolutely.
I don't know where everyone is.
It's extraordinary that it seems as though 10% of the world's population has taken a gap year.
It's just vanished. Yeah.
Vanished. And it's the most extraordinary thing. Touch points all over the place. Can't get staff, can't get staff. And you think, what the hell?
Where is everyone?
Where is everybody? We're here. Why isn't everybody else here?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are complex reasons. But as you point out, Japan, like everywhere else, is going through these same,
Sorry, we got sidetracked.
Problems.
They're going through those problems, but their management. Management is a Japanese philosophy.
It's second to none.
So I think that you can expect, a good visit there. Lots of West Australians already have gone straight out. I know one family which is out touring the islands, for example. So we've got travel there straight away, and it's fantastic. I think they'll rebuild very quickly.
Yes.
They are relying. They're quite interested in the opening up of China because that will change the dynamic for travellers in Japan. So for us, it's probably a really nice time to be there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, in the meantime, you can start planning by delving into these 2 new guides.
Yeah, guided by you. It's a very nice story.
Well, the story guided by me. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's our show for this week.
That's it.
Fantastic.
There's nothing else we left out.
Well, Moans is missing.
We left out Moens.
Missing in action. Moans Johansson is preparing, as we speak, for his 1,000-kilometre Mundabitty bicycle ride. So we'll see him back in a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to hearing all about that.
Maybe not. The last thing, he was going out to buy an emergency beacon, and I haven't heard from him
if
since.
he doesn't perish on the track somewhere. God forbid. God forbid.
Yeah.
Very valued member of our team.
Yeah,
so
look,
we wish him well.
he'd be very hard to replace. It'd take me at least an hour to find someone else.
Yes.
No, we wish him well. It's
no, we
fantastic.
really do. Okay, gents. Look,
Man
until
of
next
his
week.
years tackling that is fantastic.
We'll never know. Well, maybe we should dial him in for next week. We'll see where he's at, I'd love to have him talking while he's riding. Wouldn't that be amazing, Right there where the action is. Okay, guys. Well, thanks again, and we'll look forward to catching up with you on the Pod Well Travelled next week.
Thanks, Will.
Pleasure.